The Changemaker Challenge is an opportunity for you to grow your business and your nonprofit and take it to the next level.
Think of it less as a competition and more of a way to really get connected to others who are just as passionate as you are with your idea and just really seeking the perfect way to bring it to life.
When I've looked more into the Changemaker Challenge and I realized how many other people that I've known and other organizations that I heard about were getting involved, I felt like I needed to be involved too. The people at United Way clearly care about what they're doing.
The Changemaker Challenge process has just been a blast. It's a lot of fun, and you're engaging with the United Way team every step of the way.
Before, I wasn't able to do it. I just could talk about it. You know, I didn't have the time or the resources to make it happen, and I couldn't have done that without the Changemaker Challenge.
So whether or not you already have a nonprofit or you're just in the idea stages, I highly encourage anyone of any background to apply for the Changemaker Challenge.
The Changemaker Challenge.
So as you all know, the recording has started, and today's session will be shared on United Way's nonprofit funding page by Friday. And the agenda, we're going to talk about, we're going to do an introduction. We're going to talk about United Way's sponsors and our Changemaker Challenge overview. We're going to do a community force application walkthrough, which I think you're all going to find very helpful. And then we're going to do some questions and answers. Please add questions to the chat throughout the session. We'll answer those when we can. However, there are going to be two designated sections midway and at the end.
I don't know if I'm the only one, but I can't hear you anymore.
Rob, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah,
Ivan?
This is Renee. I can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry. Is it Ida?
Etta, but it was my headset. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Can everybody hear me now? Okay. So let's see, introductions. I've already introduced myself again, Laleen Lamar, and I am United Way Senior Director of Grant Making. Also on the call is Rob Clark, Senior Vice President and Chief Grants Officer. We also have Renee Beck, Vice President and Chief Marketing and Innovation Officer. And also Ivan Williams is here. He is our host. Can you come on camera real quick, Ivan? Thank you. He's our grants manager. And also we have Gwen and Shim, and she is our digital marketing specialist. Next slide, please. On behalf of United Way's team, we'd like to thank our sponsors, WBAL TV, 98 Rock, and WBAL News Radio. Next slide. Additionally, our Howard County partners include the Horizon Foundation, the Community Foundation of Howard County, the Women's Giving Circle of Howard County, and Howard County Government. And joining us today from the Horizon Foundation is Kenitra Fuqua. Kenitra, would you like to say a few words?
Hi, thank you, Laleen. Hi, everyone. I'm Kenitra Fuqua. I'm a program director at the Horizon Foundation, and just wanted to give a little bit of history of the Changemaker Challenge. This challenge was initially started in 2017 here in Howard County with the Horizon Foundation and the United Way of Central Maryland. And it was really started to just be able to have an event focused on sparking innovation and change here in Howard County and really be able to address some of the issues and social barriers that were coming up in the county. That was in 2017. We've had several competitions thus far. In 2021, we even expanded our partnership to include not only United Way, the Howard County Community Foundation, and the Women Giving Circles. And we know that the United Way has been able to expand to 4 different counties as well, along with Howard County. And we've just really been able to see a lot of different cool projects, from supporting different ways to support alcoholism with healthy alternatives, mental health coaching, in our athletic staff. We've been able to see like low-income families receive higher education opportunities. So really all over the board, and it's been really exciting. So we just thank United Way for continuing this challenge and being able to make it more available to other counties. And we're excited to see what you guys do this year.
Thank you, Kenitra. We appreciate you and the partnership. I think it's been a very positive experience for us, but also for the community. Thank you very much. Next slide, please. So for almost 100 years, United Way has worked tirelessly to build deep and trusting relationships with our neighbors in Baltimore City, Baltimore, Anne Arundel, Carroll, Harford, and Howard counties. Next slide. Focus areas are health, housing, education, and economic advancement. And you might be asking, if you don't already know, but what is the Changemaker Challenge? Well, it's a lot of things, but it's a competition to spark social innovations that address challenges facing our communities. From applications, up to 12 finalists will be selected in each jurisdiction to pitch their ideas to a live audience and panel of judges. Finalists will receive $1,500 finalist stipend and optional coaching and marketing support. And now Rob Clark is going to join us. Rob, do you want to pick up the overview, please?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I somehow changed my screen so I can't see the slides. There we go. I'm back. Great. So this is an overview of Changemaker. And first, let me just say I'm so glad to see you all here. This is a very exciting time for us. When we had the Changemaker a couple of years ago, it was so much fun to hear people's ideas and see what came out of that process. And I'm so glad to see that there's so much interest again this year. So I wish you all good luck. So the Changemaker Challenge will provide grant awards will be given to the selected announced at the live pitch event. So as Aline said, there will be through the application process, we'll select 8 to 10. You'll see in the timeline like 8 to 12 finalists. And then there will be grant awards given at the live pitch events. They will range from $25,000 to $5,000 and include a $5,000 Audience Choice Award voted on by folks who are attending the event. And we anticipate awarding more than $600,000 in grants across Central Maryland this year. So we're very excited about that. Next slide. Eligibility. So who's involved? So this is in order to spark innovation, we've expanded and we did this last time too, but with Changemaker, normally United Way just has grants to nonprofit organizations, but in this case, we're also for Changemaker, we're inviting individuals, groups of individuals, and nonprofit 501c3 organizations to apply. For-profit organizations are not eligible, just so you know, and all applications must be, all applicants, including all members of the teams, if there's a team applying, must be 18 years old and or working in Central Maryland, 18 years or older, I should say. Applicants may submit multiple applications, but only one per jurisdiction. So you could potentially submit up to 5. I do want to point out, though, that the judges and the reviewers of those applications will really be looking to see that there is a local focus in the jurisdiction that you've identified. Partners within that jurisdiction, it's addressing a need specific to that jurisdiction, and the plan really speaks to how it's going to support the Baltimore City or the counties that you are applying under. Please do not just do one application and cut and paste it 5 different times. It just means more work for our reviewers, and you won't have success if you don't have that local tie. Next slide. Who is not eligible? So individuals who are running for a public office during this grant period are not eligible to apply. As I mentioned before, for-profit entities are not eligible, as well as nonprofits who have a different designation, different status other than 501c3. So only 501c3 nonprofits for this opportunity. Board members, employees, and any immediate family members or persons living in the same household of the following event sponsors or any of the organizations providing judges, and nonprofit organizations with staff members or board of directors members who are ineligible as outlined above. So not the individuals or staff members of those organizations that they are connected to. If that makes sense to everybody. Next slide. And here's our timeline. So today is the 6th of February, grant information session. We will post the recording of this session by tomorrow. You have 2 weeks from today to finish your applications. The portal closes at 11:59, so please make sure you are PM. So you have up until the last minute of the day, Eastern time. But please make sure you do not go over that, because then the application will not let you submit, and your application will be incomplete and you will be ineligible. Could you go back? I was still working on the timeline there. There we go. Thanks. After, by mid-March, we will make our announcements and notify folks who are finalists, whether you're a finalist or not. There will be coaching and marketing support to fully develop, and this is really kind of at your, we will offer it. It's optional for you to agree to which you want to take. You want this kind of support, but basically we'll be helping folks kind of further develop their ideas and pitches in preparation for these live events that will happen between April 30th and mid-May. And by June, we will be making the grant award announcements. Well, we'll be making the award announcements actually at the pitch events. By June, we'll be entering into grant agreements with you all and making your grant payment. And the period of the grant is the fiscal year 2025, July 1st, 24 to June 30th, 25. Next slide. And here are the dates and locations for the live pitch events. As you can see, for Baltimore City, it is still in the works, but for the other 4, we have the date set and locations. So we're excited about those. Next slide. Selection criteria. So this is really, if you're paying attention to one slide, other than the deadline slide, of course, the other slides I really pay attention to today is this selection criteria. What are we really looking for in these applications? And you can figure this out by reading the questions very carefully and responding to them. But basically, we want to see projects that are innovative, that address a local need specific to those counties, that engage local residents and/or community partners in the work. Obviously, a plan that is well thought out and one that shows strong promise of positive social impact. And you will see that reflected in the questions that you are being asked to respond to. And then, while it's not required, there is a priority given to applicants who are led by people of color, BIPOC leaders, or people from marginalized communities, hard to reach populations. So that is a lens that we do apply as well. Next slide. So we are going to pause right here and see if what questions people have right now, and try to knock out some of those, see what we can answer. If there's something we cannot answer, we will get back to. We'll either huddle a little bit later during this meeting, or we will get back to you with an answer on our website. But let's try to answer all the questions here that we can.
So Rob, the next question in the queue is Kelly Johnson wants to know, can you clarify nonprofit board members are ineligible to apply? For example, the founder of the organization that serves on the board.
So yes, what we're saying is, yes, that slide is a little confusing. So what we're saying is so what we're trying to avoid are conflict of interest with our judges. Maybe if we go back to the eligibility slide, that would be helpful. Could you back us up a little bit, Ivan? So we have event sponsors and we have judges, right? And what we want to make sure is that there's no conflict of interest connected to either one of our sponsors, and you saw who the sponsors are, or one of the judges. And so what we want to make sure is that there are no, like nobody who's on the board of one of the event sponsors, organizations, or on the board of one of the nonprofit that either the sponsor or one of the judges sits on, or as an employee of the sponsor or an employee of an organization that the judges sit on, or an immediate family member of the sponsor or an immediate family member of one of the judges. Those folks, we are not eligible to apply, so that there's no conflict of interest when it comes to deciding who the awards are made to. I hope that clarifies.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
So I think, Rob, that is the last question right now.
Great. All right, so Renee, are you with us? Our teammate on the grants team, Renee, was going to help us with this slide. If not, I will go ahead.
Rob, I think Renee is not able to join us.
Okay, no problem.
Renee Duzan.
All right, well, let me just cover this then while we're here.
Yes.
So these are just some basic tips for folks for applying. If you have written grants before, these are not, earth shattering. It's just kind of a reminder. If you haven't, just kind of keep these things in mind, right? Obviously, read the questions very thoroughly and use the prompts for as a pattern for your response. There's the question, and then there's usually information underneath the question that provides what we're really looking for. Take those to heart. We suggest, because there are word limits in Community Force, that you do your work in a Word document where you can, and then cut and paste in the application, and you can check in the Word document how many words you have in your response and make the edits there, and then cut and paste them into the application. Do not assume that the reviewers know anything about your organization, so make sure you're clear, explain acronyms, stay away from industry jargon, et cetera, or just make sure you're pretty clear there. Pay attention to the character limits, as we said, and in the case of Community Force, they are word limits, and you'll see in each question what the word limits are. And when we walk through Community Force, you'll see what it looks like if you go over those limits. Next slide. Make sure you're putting the information in the right places, and make sure you are careful. Think about how you're going to measure success in your program, right? So ahead of time, think of not just what you're going to do, but how you're going to know that you've been successful. Make sure that in your budget, it makes sense that based on, somebody looks at your budget and looks at your plan, those two things really
Rob, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I think I accidentally hit my space bar. So just, we just want to make sure that the budget aligns with what your proposed activities are. If you're talking about stipends, in your proposal, we should see those in the budget. If you're talking about equipment that you need or whatever, just make sure there's alignment there. And lastly, ensure that your submitted application is easy to understand and score. So, that you're answering the right questions, there's some flow, and that it makes sense. Again, these are pretty basic, but good things to keep in mind. Next slide.
You ready, Rob?
Eileen, you're going to take us through. I am going to pull up the right screen and share my screen.
So we're actually going to go into the Community Force portal, and Rob and I are going to tag team. He's logging in, and I'm going to basically direct him so that we can give you some extra tips and insight into how to best use Community Force. So when you go to that ucm.communityforce.com/login.aspx, you're going to arrive here. This is our United Way Community Force portal. You would enter so for those who have not created an account, you would do the create new account. option, but for those who have an account, you would log in with your email address and the password that you used and set up when you created your account. And when Rob selects login, he's going to be prompted to do an authentication. This is an 8-digit code that is going to go to your email address. I prefer to copy it and paste it in. Rob is going to add it in each digit at a time. We've noticed recently that you need to enter the dash in between the 4 digits. So the first 4, then the dash, and then the last 4. And then you would hit submit. This is going to now bring you to the option to search for grant applications. There is a search button on the left. You want to select that for grants.
So if you've already started your application, it would appear here, right? And that you can see I did similar thing here for Changemaker in 2021 and neighborhood grants. So these are other applications that I've worked on, modeled, whatever, in the past. But since here we want to show you the search. So there's search. Go ahead, Lillian.
Oh yeah, you're right on it. View all grants. And then you're looking for the 2024 Changemaker Challenge in Anne Arundel. Well, we're going to do in Anne Arundel County for our tests. And hit, yep, select apply. So these pre-qualifications is going to save you some time and save us some time as well. You want to answer them all and, you know, just be honest, as honest as you possibly can. When you successfully enter all of the questions that allows you to qualify for the grant, and then you would hit submit. It's going to take you to the dashboard of this grant application. So I want to orient you to a few things up at the top. Rob, could you scroll up a little bit, please? So there's this green button that says add collaborator. I want to point this out to you because sometimes when you're working on grant applications, there's somebody else that you're working with or in your organization, if you're a nonprofit, that you want to collaborate with so that they can complete sections. Maybe you want them to do the budget section, or maybe they would be helpful to you in doing the application questions and video submission. When you are ready, and if you have a need for adding a collaborator, you would just select the green button, follow the prompts. It's very clear. So I won't spend a whole lot of time on doing that. I just want to point out to you that that is an option for you. So if you can scroll down, please, Rob. So here we have the 4 sections of the application. It's very user-friendly. So we have general information, application questions and video submission, budget, and assurances and important dates. Each of them has their own unique icon, which is also a hyperlink. When you select the hyperlink in the circle, it'll load the page for you. I also want to point out to you that each of them has a percentage in the mid right corner. That's going to tell you how much of your application has been completed. When you are at 100, that's a good indication that you are almost done. I recommend, though, that you review it again and that you look at every single one of these and make sure they're all at 100 and they're all meet your expectations as to what you want to share with us. When you hit submit, you cannot get it back. It would require me to do some finagling on the back end, and that is definitely not what we want to do for the application if we can at all prevent it. There's also going to be a deadline embedded here. It tells you that the deadline is on the 20th at 11:59 p.m. If you're working with a collaborator, it's helpful to know who was the last person in the site. So the modified by would be the name of the last person who is working in the document. And then the modified on is the time. So Rob, if you could please select general information. One other thing that I want to mention before I forget is if you forget your password at any point in the process, please contact me directly. There is an option for you to reset your password through Community Force, but sometimes I have understood that those emails go into junk or spam, and in that case, it may take a little extra time that you don't have to waste. So please contact me directly, and I will do it pretty quickly for you. Another thing to keep in mind is save your work as you go. At the bottom of this page is some tabs. I think it's submit, save and return to dashboard, and exit, something like that. Yeah. So save whenever you're adding new information. It's a good habit to save. When you're done with this to the best of your ability at this time, whether it's 100% or not, you would save and return to dashboard so that you can return to the dashboard to work on perhaps another section. Some other things I want to point out to you, everything that's highlighted is a required question. And there will be an asterisk in red next to the left, the very far left part of that question. So it'll say, select one of the approved applicant types. There's an asterisk right next to the word select. So that tells you again that, you know, this is important and this is something I have to complete. Anything you want to add, Rob?
No, just this aligns with the three groups that we talked about in terms of what kind of applicant, whether you're individual, group of individual, or nonprofit organization. That's all. The rest seems pretty self-explanatory.
So the lead applicant might be a little confusing. So let me just say a couple of things about that. So individuals, obviously they are the lead applicant. If there's a group, there's going to be one primary person that would be the lead applicant. The executive director information is a required field for nonprofits. However, the executive director is not always the person who is submitting this application. So whomever is submitting the application is the person that you would probably want to list as the lead applicant. And we would want their name, perhaps their title in the organization. It could even be volunteer, first name, middle name, optional, and last name. We would also need the address. We would need all the contact information for the lead applicant because they would be our primary person that we would be working with throughout the whole entire application process. I also want to point out the org name. The org name should be your legal name. So on your IRS determination letter, if you are a nonprofit, or perhaps on your Form 990, you would probably use your legal name. So for instance, our name is United Way, sometimes referred to as UWCM. Our legal name is the United Way of Central Maryland, Inc. Okay, so just to give you an example. And Rob, can you scroll down, please? If you can just help stay there for a second. So for the zip code is a restricted field. So this, it looks big, but it only is going to allow you to put in 5 digits. There's a little blue circle with a little I. If you hover over that, that'll just give you a prompt to say enter a 5-digit zip code. So those little circles are sometimes helpful if you're wanting to learn a little bit more about what we're looking for. Team members is required for the first team member and optional for the rest, assuming that you have at least one. And if you have more, please do add them. We do have a required question asking if the team leader or the CEO is Black, Indigenous, or a person of color. You would select one of those, but we also understand and appreciate that you may prefer not to answer that question, and that is also acceptable. So please answer the question to your comfort level. And Rob, a little further down, please. These are all questions that are not required. So photos are helpful, team photos are helpful. The total organization budget for your current fiscal year. Again, this is for a nonprofit that is applying. We have reviewers who will be reviewing these applications and selecting the finalists that will then go to the live event. The reviewers, the more information that you can give them to help them better put a face with the name or a face with the organization is helpful. So Rob, if you are okay with this section, I'm okay as well. Can you save and return to dashboard?
Yes, I'll do one thing. I'll put a zip code in here just so that it will show you that there is, albeit a little bit, that there will be progress on the dashboard that something has been completed. We're up to, wow, that was a big one. The zip code was worth 20% apparently. That's not really the case, but
Excellent. Okay, we're going to go to application questions and video submission. We're just going to go through these last ones kind of a little bit quicker so that we can have a little bit more time to answer questions. So this is an essay box, the number 1 question, what is your proposed program? And it's a narrative section that has a word limit. This is important to note. If it has a word limit, if you go over that word count and you don't realize it and you try to save it, the system will lock. So please be very careful. What we recommend in this case is if you want to write your notes in a document, like a Word document, and then copy and paste them into this text field, that way you can check the word count before you even get it into the space. And then when it's in the essay box, it shouldn't give you a problem whatsoever. And Rob, if you want to scroll down, there is another video submission section that I want to talk about a little bit.
I was just going to put something in the word,
Okay.
paste some words in here. I think I need to use Control V. So I just cut and pasted something from a different application that we have, and give me 1 second. All right, never mind. It doesn't seem to be showing. Maybe it's when you go to save, but it's not popping up at the moment as over count. But we will double check that, make sure that's working. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Elaine.
That's okay.
All right, you wanted to go down to,
Yeah. So video submission. So this is required. We are looking for a YouTube link, and I'm going to read these instructions so everybody, perhaps you can't see them as clearly as I can. So I just want to make sure that you're comfortable with what we're looking for. So you would please upload a YouTube link to your Changemaker Challenge 2024 video in the space below. The video must be 2 minutes or less in length. Cell phone videos are acceptable. The video should be your elevator pitch. The video should summarize your idea and explain how it would be a positive social impact on your community. Upload the video to the YouTube. Be sure it is marked unlisted and include the YouTube link in the text box below. Okay.
just 1 or 2 things about the video I would add are, we're not asking, we're telling the reviewers to really look for content, to really, hope the videos give a sense of you and your work and what you want to do in the community. We're not asking for you to invest in professionally done videos at this point. That's not, and we will not, we'll make sure our reviewers are not, looking into videos and putting a lot of weight on whether or not it was, looked like it was done professionally. We really just want you to have opportunity to share, put it again, as Renee said earlier, or Renee, as Lily, I'm looking at Renee, as Laleen said earlier, a face to the application, and this really does give you an opportunity to kind of make a deeper connection with the reviewers about you and the work you want to do and the community you want to serve.
Excellent. I'm ready when you are, Rob. Okay, so then is it giving you a prompt? There's your prompt, Rob, that you're looking for.
So there we go. So when you go to save and return and you didn't return like you were supposed to, something is amiss. And here it is that we are over count in terms of the word count here. So if I erase some of these, take some of these random words out, and then save and return, we were back under 100, so they let us return and go on to the next, back to the beginning.
Excellent. Okay, let's take a look at the budget section. Again, Rob is clicking on that little icon that's a hyperlink. So there's not a whole lot here, but what's here is going to be really helpful for the reviewers. So the one guidance that I would love to give you all is that whatever your program is, your project that you're working on, it should be reflected in your budget. So let's say you are interested in creating a community garden that's addressing food insecurity, which is health, which is one of our pillars. And you want to give away all the food that's harvested, and you want to do this late summer, early fall, okay? We would want to see that the items in this budget should reflect a project of that nature. You might have a little bit of under salaries, but you probably would have a lot under supplies and equipment. Maybe not so much on contracts and consultants, although you may, depending on what kind of community gardening you're building, but not probably travel, right? And probably not conference training, maybe some printing and postage. So the reviewers will look at this very clearly and very carefully. And I just want to point that out to you. It should really be in keeping with what your project and program is. Rob, do you want to enter some numbers?
Yeah, so let's say one of $6,000 in salaries and benefits. As you enter that, anytime you enter a dollar value here, it will open this little box and give you the opportunity to then provide a narrative, and it's a required narrative. So here we ask you to, between with 1 and 50 words, provide some detail around that salary. Is it, is it a portion of somebody's staff on time? Are you hiring somebody to do this? For how many hours, at what rates, are you paying stipends, et cetera? Those kind of things can all go in here. We're not asking for some detail, but just so that people can understand, like if you talk about a part of somebody's time in the application to do this, and we'd want to see that reflected here. If you talk about bringing on, paying residents to work the garden, for example, as Laleen was saying, then we just want to see that reflected here with a little bit of detail. And in these other categories, if something falls outside of these buckets here, you have the opportunity to put something in here and then describe it as well. Then you want to keep going, Laleen? You want to keep talking about this?
Yeah. So at the bottom, there's a few required questions. The total will calculate, so that is great. It's doing what it needs to do. You're attesting and confirming that the above amount does not exceed $25,000, because that's the maximum grant that we offer or award. And finally, I understand that all taxes on the grant award are the sole responsibility of the winner. Okay. What do you think, Rob?
I think we're good. It should add up. There's this calculate button here. I find it's not necessary. It usually does calculate that, but it doesn't hurt to double click it and just double check and make sure that you haven't added a number after it is kind of calculated that. So I'll click these. We have a couple things in here, and we can save and return.
Okay, and finally, we're going to do assurances and important dates. So for those of you who have already started your application, some of this is already familiar to you. You've kind of poked around the site a little bit in the application. I just want to add that we are really redundant where we can be, because we want to make sure you have the information that you need. And, sometimes it's a lot to take in all at once. So here at the top, we have listed the live event location and the date and time. You're attesting here that your team will attend all required meetings and events. Events is intentionally plural because you could apply for more than one jurisdiction, and if you are selected, you would be required to go to more than one event. And then the next section is I and all team members agree to the Changemaker Challenge rules and regulations. These links are in other parts of the application, but we put them here as well so you can have the opportunity to look at them again and just to make sure you're comfortable with what you're signing on for. And then we would need the signature, which is basically your typed in name. That would be your electronic signature. And for marketing purposes and our understanding of how to do this event better, we would love to hear, how did you hear about the Changemaker Challenge? That's helpful to us to know. And we also track emails in a grants listserv so that, you know, when we do our next grant, it might not be Changemaker for another year or so, but we do have other grants that we do on an annual basis. If you select yes, we'll be sure to keep you posted on those. And finally, thank you. Thank you so much for your interest in us. Thank you so much for your interest in this opportunity. It's not just a grant, it's a competition. It's a little bit of a Shark Tank style pitch competition. It's a little bit of everything, and it's so unique to this area. We're so proud of it, and we're so pleased that you're wanting to share this experience with us. So, Rob, that is basically, you know, my thoughts about the walkthrough for now.
Let's see who the Kenitra, I don't know if you have anything you wanted to add that not as part of this application, since you have such experience here. I just wanted to, and if you don't, that's fine. I just thought I'd give you a chance to.
No, I think you guys did an excellent job. I know it seems overwhelming, but just take it step by step. I think you guys did a great job in walking through the application, and just know that we're here to support you along the way. So just reach out if you have any questions.
Luleen and Rob, there are quite a few questions in the chat. I've been tracking them. Would you like me to read them out so you
Sure.
can answer?
Yes.
There are some that I already answered, so I'll run through them, but there are quite a few.
Sure.
Someone asked, will there be 8 to 12 finalists total, or 8 to 12 finalists in each of the 5 locations? I said 8 to 12 per location. Someone asked if there are examples of previous change makers. If you go to uwcm.org/changemaker challenge, which I dropped in the chat, you can check out all of the 2021 grantees from all locations. So you can see a lot of what's been covered. A few people asked if we accept fiscal sponsorship. Can you apply with a fiscal sponsor? So Rob, Luleen, I'll turn that over to you.
Go ahead, Lillian.
Yes. Yes. So in this case, in the section that says organization, the organization information section, that would be your fiscal agent, fiscal sponsor section. So you would want to include their executive director, all of their contact information, and that will be the way that we will incorporate that into the application.
Okay. We have someone who recently won a neighborhood grant. Congratulations.
Yay!
Are you still able to apply for the challenge?
Yes.
Love it. Let's see, what else do we have? Someone asked, how long is the presentation at the live pitch? I shared that times aren't exactly finalized yet, but they will be short, probably no more than 3 minutes or so. So plan for short pitches. Can someone apply if they're the owner of a sole proprietorship?
So a small business, like a for-profit business? Is that?
They didn't specify, so maybe
Okay.
answer both ways.
Yes. So Rob, I would say that for-profit organizations are not eligible.
Correct. Yeah.
However, if you are an individual that happens to be an owner of a business and you are doing some amazing social work in the community and you're applying on behalf of yourself, that is a path to do this particular grant.
Right. So your application should be clear that it's not, right, you're not doing this to expand a current kind of for-profit business. The investment needs to be in line with, what a nonprofit guidelines around community investment with funds that they are granted. So just make sure you're very clear about that delineation in your application, and then that would also be the case if you were awarded.
Okay, next question is, do the proposed programs need to be new programming to the organization, or may they seek funds for existing programs?
So that is a great question. I was actually thinking that question was going to come up earlier today. And so, right, we talk about innovation, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to come up with something brand new right now. I think we don't want to necessarily fund things that are existing just as kind of like continue operating something already. But if you have a good idea that's, or something that you're onto something that is innovative and you want a chance to kind of reach, expand your reach in that space, then yes, it can be something, and you can talk about how that work is already demonstrated. You've already seen some returns on that plan, that work that you're putting into place, and here's an opportunity to reach more people, reach folks who are from, under whatever you're doing there, just kind of. So yeah, I think that covers it. It doesn't have to be brand new, but don't think about this as like an operating grant to just kind of keep doing what you're already doing. That makes sense.
Great. What is the cap on grant funding that applicants can ask for?
Up to 25,000. The maximum award is 25,000. There will be some awards that are 25,000, and then we will have award categories at 10 and 15,000. So for your budget, you can apply for up to 25,000, and if you're awarded the maximum 25,000, then your budget is largely done. But if we come back and if you do end up getting, let's say, a $10,000 or $15,000 award, we would ask you to kind of revise your budget to align with that as part of the grant execution process.
Great. Someone said, can you please email me this recording? I'm actually going to drop into the chat where the recording will live. We cannot email to everyone individually, but we will update it on our nonprofit funding page as well as the Changemaker Challenge page. So you can go there and access it after this event. Let's see. I think that's all of the questions. Someone said, if we were planning on asking for 20,000, should we up it to 25,000, lower it to 15? Can we ask for 20?
I think you should, up to 25, you should ask for what you think you need. So, and then if you get if you're awarded the top prize, then we would say, hey, do you want to revisit your budget and see what you could do for an extra 5,000? Or, I wouldn't feel like you need to completely stretch to one of those categories, because you could end up in any of those categories. So I would say just apply for what you feel like you need for your project at this point. Up to 25,000, of course.
And someone else asked 25,000 per jurisdiction or 25,000 total if they apply across multiple jurisdictions?
Per application, so it could be multiple. It's up to 25,000 per jurisdiction, but it is, again, there would be individual applications for each jurisdiction. So you're not submitting one application for 100,000 that covers 4 jurisdictions. You would be submitting if you're applying in 4 jurisdictions, 4 separate applications, 1 to each jurisdiction, and none of those can be larger than $25,000 request, if that makes sense.
Great, that's all the questions in the chat.
So if somebody feels like
I'm sorry, I do have a question.
Yes, thank you.
I'm sorry. I was trying to put in the chat, but wasn't typing fast enough. My apologies. And I'm not sure if you guys already answered this question, so I apologize if you guys had to repeat it. But do you have to already have an established business to pursue this?
No, you don't. As a matter of fact, like the categories of folks who can apply, and actually, if you have a for-profit business, you cannot apply under that for-profit business. But we're looking for kind of social entrepreneurs. You could either be part of a nonprofit organization that applies, or as an individual, or as a group of individuals. So you do not have to have an established organization or business.
So you can use this money to start your business, right?
You can use this money to implement a social innovation idea, but yes, other folks have turned it into. They've taken this as a step to start their own nonprofit or advance that work. So that is a possibility.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I think it was another question, but I can't remember off the top. So if we're still on, I'll ask it again. I'll ask another question, but that's it for now.
Would anybody
Thank
else
you.
like to, no, yeah, thank you. Would anybody else like to unmute and ask us a question if you were unable to put it in the chat or if something else has occurred to you?
Yes, I just wanted some clarity. So if you are using a fiscal sponsor, you are applying as an individual and then putting the fiscal sponsor's information in? Is that what it is?
What do you think, Lily?
So you are, can we go to the general information tab, please, Ivan?
Are you talking?
I
Should I?
I need to reshare.
Rob, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. I will reshare my screen.
Sorry, Ivan, Rob.
No problem.
It's good. I will. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so general information.
Yes.
Here we go.
So in that case, you would select a nonprofit as your, or so under drop down, you would select the nonprofit or tax exempt organization. You would complete the organization's name for the fiscal agent, including the executive director. And then as I explained earlier for the lead applicant, this would be you. This would be the person who would be actually managing the project or program. So all this information would be for the lead applicant, the person that's actually applying for the grant in community force. It's usually the same person.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would also suggest, just to make sure everybody understands what's happening there, because it could be that we think it's that organization only and you're a part of that, just to make sure that the reviewers are clear. I would use the first narrative set part at the very beginning of the intro, where it says describe the overview of your project. I would say, you know, whatever, I'm applying with support of a fiscal agent, blah, 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 and then go on. So it's clear that you're applying with support of a fiscal agent, but that they're a fiscal agent, they're not the actual organization that's going to implement the plan, if that makes sense.
Okay, yes, and I'm sorry, where did you say I should place that?
I would just kind of just lead with it as so that people don't miss it, just right in the narrative summary, like as
What is the purpose of the program? Okay.
yeah, just to give people just, you know, don't spend a lot of words on it because you don't have that many, but just say that you're an individual applying with the support of a fiscal agent, and then go on to describe your work.
Thank you.
Does
Very
does that make sense to you, Elaine?
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Not to me. Okay, yes, it does. Thanks.
Sure.
And Rob and Lillian, we have another question from the chat. Someone asked, can we use money for maintenance, insurance, bills, etc., for expenses?
So maintenance insurance for the project and program, or maintenance and insurance for your organization? So one, oh, go
First
ahead.
question was, the first question was, does having a building count? And I asked for clarity, and they said, can we use the money for maintenance, insurance, bills for all expenses?
So Rob, I'll start, and then I know you'll probably jump in with some other thoughts. But so just to be clear, this is not like an operating grant. And an operating grant would go to cost to help support the organization. Whether you're doing a project or not, those would be funds that would support the administration of the organization. This grant is for like an innovative idea that's going to create social impact and help the community, perhaps neighbors, community members. So you would really have to have a strong rationale for why doing something in the building would support that work that you're proposing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it depends upon what you're doing. I definitely agree with what Leline said. Let's say part of your innovative plan is like you're an individual and your innovative plan is to have food distribution, you know, out of your garage, for example, right? Or something like that. So you might need insurance for that, right? But that is not like just a normal maintenance thing. That is something related to what's important to you and your your innovative idea to implement it. So I wouldn't say insurance, specifically insurance, or maybe to some degree, maintenance are out of bounds. It just in the just make sure it's in the spirit of what you need to implement this new innovative idea or expand this new innovative idea. It just doesn't feel like you're using this as an opportunity to just provide resources to, again, like operate what you're already doing, as Elaine had said.
Okay, another question was, if we apply in different jurisdictions, should the mission be different? I know it should be tied to that particular area.
So the mission of your organization is probably something that really should not change because you should be true to your work. But in the description of the project is where you would really make a case for why that jurisdiction should will benefit from your project / program, right? So I hope that is clear enough.
Hi, this is Shirley Gordon with Street Angel Project.
Hey,
Hi,
Shirley.
how are you?
Good, thank you.
The question I had is, although I know that the funding that if we're granted or awarded the funding, is supposed to go to supplies and things like that, or development or software development and something innovative, do we also allot money for salaries in this, or, for personnel?
Yes, I mean, I think we want to make sure we're respecting that people's time is valuable and that things don't happen. We're not asking everybody here to volunteer their time and only pay for other things. So I think just think about a balance, and that again, in the space of this either being new or expansion of an innovative idea, like what additional salary time or what additional salary do you need, whether it's additional people or a larger portion of somebody's time dedicated to that. And absolutely, that's definitely something that is allowable. And we will tell the reviewers not to think of salary as a bad thing, because again, we want to respect that you all are doing the work and you should be compensated for the work you're doing.
So the other question I had is because Laleen, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, so another question I had was that, so what if we were developing something like a particular kind of software and we needed to have someone develop it for us? Because I think Laleen mentioned earlier in the presentation in regards to consulting and, like if you needed to outsource something in that aspect, would that be okay?
Yes, absolutely. As long as is what it is directly connected
Nice.
to your project.
Correct. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, we had another question in the comments. How long do the winners have to spend the grant money?
So the grant period, so let me start by walking us to the grant period. So we'll do the live events in April, May, and then we will need probably a good portion of June to do due diligence and collect information, and also to process grant agreements, and then send out awards. So the grant period will be the fiscal year starting on July 1st, and it will run through June 2025. So 12 months. February 20th is the deadline, 11:59 p.m.
I think that is... Oh, nope, we have another question. Generally, we meet our families on Zoom. Will the grant cover having 2 to 3 meetings at a location requiring the rental of the facility?
Yes.
Okay, now I think we've answered everything in the chat. So we've caught up.
Oh, wait, I have one other question. Okay, about if you receive a grant, what is the reporting process?
That's a great question. We will very likely do a year-end report that includes a expenditure report and a narrative report. We also do a mid-year report, but that might be a mid-year or check-in, some combination, but that will be a part of your grant agreement that you will review and that you will sign off on. But I have to say, it's really not hard at all. I mean, with the narrative, it's probably 2 pages of information that you're providing for that mid-year narrative and also the year-end narrative. And the expenditure report is basically the budget that you had provided in your application that was approved. That would be the budget that we would be working from. And then you would want to expense the project to that budget.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There are no more questions in the chat. Oh, just kidding. So yeah, y'all are keeping me on my toes. So can my initiative program be the same for each jurisdiction, provided it is tailored to the specific areas? I just want to make sure.
Yes, and so we're like, each jurisdiction will have its own reviewers that will look at your application, and they won't, compare and say, are they doing the same thing in that jurisdiction? They will just be evaluating that. But what they want to see, and what is part of what they want to see, is that you are addressing the needs that you've identified in that jurisdiction, that you're partnering with, that you're not kind of an outsider that's coming with an idea that has no connections or traction to that county. Because we know that partnerships are multipliers, right? And so that's another big kind of suggestion here, is that your ideas, there is a part where we're asking about who your partners are with, and whether it's residents or other organizations, like who are you connecting with that's already kind of has relationships with some of the people you want to serve, or will provide other layered support, or whatever that looks like. That's a benefit to that, and the reviewers will be looking to see that it doesn't feel like you're kind of an island, or somebody who's kind of coming in and is going to have a hard time kind of getting traction because they're in a new community without any connections to folks who are in that community. So.
Okay, and again, someone has asked where the recording will be. It will be on uwcm.org/Changemaker Challenge. That's where you can find so much information about Changemaker Challenge, including past recipients, the video that we showed, lots of other information. It will also live on our nonprofit funding page on our website, which is where all of our grants information lives. Okay, nothing else in the chat right now. Just wait till I finish saying it and then something else will come up, but nothing at the moment.
You're welcome, Dr. Heather.
We do have another one. If we partner with DSS in the area, does that count as a local connection?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, we're seeing a lot of thank yous come in. So questions may
You're
have
welcome.
wrapped up. Luleen, Rob, do you want to do any last calls for questions to see?
No, I think we're good. We really appreciate you guys, your very thoughtful questions. Thank you for coming to this information session. You think everything's included in the RFP, but as you know, there's an opportunity that we have or in this case, the contest rules and application. There's an opportunity to learn a little bit more, get a little bit more kind of in-depth information and some real guidance on what we're really looking for. So I hope this was worth it for you all, and we wish the best of luck, and I know we will see a number of you come. We'll see your applications, and then we'll see a number of you when it comes time for the live pitch events, if you are fortunate, and whoever makes it to that round of this process. So thank you all so much.